Russian troops in southern Ukraine are increasingly disappearing without a trace, according to Serhii Bratchuk, spokesman for the Ukrainian Volunteer Army, according to Armiia TV. Ukrainian Armed Forces liberated the right bank part of the region, including the city of Kherson, in the fall of 2022, while the left bank area, located on the opposite side of the Dnipro River, remains temporarily occupied by Russian troops. He says the phenomenon affects not only the active combat zone on the Kherson Islands, but also the rear areas on the left bank, where occupiers, including looters, are suddenly evaporating. This is no longer the Bermuda Triangle, but the Kherson Triangle. And as we can see, it works. Every day this past week, someone disappears, Bratchuk says with irony. The most recent case has been reported in Russia's 24th Motor Rifle Regiment, when 6 soldiers were declared missing in action. There were no reported clashes, raising suspicions of Ukrainian partisan activity or desertions from demoralized units, according to Euromaidan Press media outlet. Perhaps it's the work of partisans. Perhaps they're choosing to disappear on their own. But the fact remains. There are fewer Russians, and that suits us just fine, the Ukrainian spokesperson sums up. Earlier, the pro-Ukrainian partisan group Atesh reported that several Russian National Guard soldiers, reportedly involved in looting, mysteriously disappeared under unclear circumstances in the Russian-occupied city of Nova Kakhovka in Kherson Oblast. The group added that the Russian occupiers are confident in their impunity, using the checkpoints as a means to rob the local population. However, things are not always going according to their plan. According to the partisans, the soldiers, who had gained notoriety for stealing from residents in Nova Kakhovka, mysteriously vanished last month. Their disappearance has raised concerns among the entire Russian leadership in Nova Kakhovka, and this is just the beginning. Atesh claims Russian soldiers stationed at these checkpoints are regularly looting, taking personal items from local civilians, including phones, food and household appliances. Atesh reports. The group added that the Russian occupiers are confident in their impunity, using the checkpoints as a means to rob the local population. Since the 24th of February 2022, Nova Kakhovka has been under Russian occupation, with Russian forces using the city as a rear base and logistics center. Ukrainian Armed Forces liberated the right bank part of the region, including the city of Kherson, in the fall of 2022, while the left bank area, located on the opposite side of the Dnipro River, remains temporarily occupied by Russian troops.
Ukrainian defense forces have recently advanced in the Kursk region and near Borovaya and Toretsk. Meanwhile, Russian invaders are pressing near Chasov Yar, Toretsk and Novopavlivka, as well as in the Kursk region. This is reported by Institute for the Study of War. Recently, the Ukrainian defense forces have advanced in the Kursk region. Geolocation footage published on May 19 shows the Ukrainian defense forces advancing on the southern outskirts of Tyatkino, southwest of Glushkov. Meanwhile, Russian troops are also advancing in this direction. As geolocation footage from May 19 shows, the Russian army has advanced to the international checkpoint southeast of Tyatkino. Russian military intelligence claimed that the armed forces of Ukraine were allegedly unsuccessfully attacking Tyatkino and Novyi Put, southwest of Glushkov and east of Tyatkino. Ukrainian military observer Konstantin Mashevet stated that North Korean troops are no longer conducting assaults on the Kursk direction, and Russian troops are only episode ally deploying a North Korean contingent on Russian territory. Neither Ukrainian nor Russian ISW sources reported ground activity in the northwestern Belgorod region on May 19. On May 19, the Russian occupiers continued offensive operations in the north of Sumy region, but did not advance. Vadim Mysnyk, spokesman for the Seversky Group of Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, reported that the Russian Federation is accumulating forces in the Kursk region and continues to advance with small groups of infantry along the international border between the Sumy and Kursk regions. Russian invaders continued limited ground attacks in northern Kharkiv Oblast on May 19, but were unsuccessful. On May 18 and 19, Russian troops stormed the area of Vovchansk and Vovchansky Kuturi. On May 18, a Russian blogger stated that the Ukrainian Armed Forces counterattacked near Lyptsy. On May 19, the Russian occupiers continued to advance in the Kupiansk direction, but did not advance. Russian troops attacked along the international border in the Stroivka area and in the Kharkivka area. A spokesman for the Ukrainian brigade operating in the Kupiansk direction reported that the Russians had reduced the size of their infantry assault groups from 5 to 6 to 2 to 3 people, and that the enemy continues to prefer the use of buggies, motorcycles, and all-terrain vehicles over armored vehicles during the assault. The head of the Kupiansk District Military Administration, Andriy Kanashevich, stated that the Russian occupiers have increased the number and scope of air and artillery strikes on the Kupiansk district. The Russian military expert claimed that Putin's troops used Shahid drones, which are usually used to launch long-range strikes on the rear areas of Ukraine, to strike at Ukrainian Armed Forces targets in the Kupiansk direction. Recently, Ukrainian defenders advanced in the direction of Borovaya. The commander of the Ukrainian brigade reported that the Russians are trying to enter Torsky in strike groups of 2 or 3 soldiers, and that the armed forces of Ukraine are killing or wounding 80 to 90% of these groups. For major arms transfer from European states to Ukraine have been announced. Belgium will provide Ukraine with a military aid package worth €1 billion. The package will include various types of military equipment, THAD informs. According to the report, the majority of the aid, €645 million, comes from Belgian sources. Producing through our own industry means that a significant portion of the funds returns to the Belgian economy and supports employment in the country's defense sector, said Franken. According to the report, the new aid package will include the rapid delivery of around 100 armored ambulances and Unimog transport vehicles. Belgium will also provide Ukraine with 5 unmanned surface vessels, as well as other drones, helmets, medical equipment, portable drone detection systems, night vision goggles, and protective gear against chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats. The package will also include over 16,000 weapons and artillery units, along with 20 upgraded Serber air defense systems and a Leopard battle tank equipped with a modernized turret for testing purposes. In addition, Belgium will invest in training Ukrainian technicians to service F-16 fighter jets as part of the international coalition, in cooperation with the Belgian defense industry. The country also supports the launch of production facilities for 70mm rockets in Ukraine, in collaboration with local companies. Software support is also being provided. French President Emmanuel Macron has confirmed, according to sources, that all Caesar self-propelled howitzers produced in France throughout 2025 will be delivered to Ukraine, a move signaling robust Western support for Kiev amid its ongoing defense against Russian forces. According to sources, this commitment translates to 12 howitzers per month, totaling 144 units for the year, as France ramps up production to meet Ukraine's pressing need for advanced artillery. The announcement, reported on platforms like X, underscores France's strategic pivot to prioritize Ukraine's military requirements, potentially at the expense of other international clients. This decision comes as Ukraine intensifies its reliance on mobile, precise artillery to counter Russian advances, while France navigates complex geopolitical and industrial challenges. Since Russia's invasion in February 2022, France has steadily increased its deliveries of Caesars to Ukraine, with a total of 67 units supplied by October 2024, according to reports from Politico. The latest pledge marks a significant escalation, reflecting both France's industrial capacity and its geopolitical alignment with NATO allies supporting Kyiv. Italy has prepared a new package of military aid for Ukraine. Likely, the Italian version of tracked armored personnel carriers of the M113 type, VCC-2 Camellino, will be transferred, according to Il Messaggero. In addition, another SAMP/T air defense system as well as additional equipment is claimed to be delivered. Il Messaggero writes that Italy may also help Ukraine with a satellite surveillance system, which will assist in planning operations. However, no details about this item are reported. According to open sources, up to 1,200 M113 APCs could have been modernized for the Italian army to the VCC-2 Camellino version. At the same time, these APCs have not been in service with the Italian military for some time. It is known that the last 10 vehicles were decommissioned 4 years ago. Australian authorities have begun loading the first of the 49 decommissioned Ukraine-bound Abrams tanks onto a cargo ship despite continued private objections from US officials, Australian Broadcasting Corporation reported. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese confirmed the upcoming delivery of the tanks when meeting President Volodymyr Zelenski in Rome on May 18. The exact date of their arrival is withheld for security reasons, Australian Broadcasting Corporation reported. The Australian broadcaster reported back in April that the shipments of the retired tanks, which are meant to bolster Ukrainian forces as they resist Russian aggression, are delayed in part due to resistance from Washington. These objections have not fully subsided, with at least one US official questioning their usefulness on the Ukrainian battlefields, according to ABC. An undisclosed Australian defense official told the broadcaster that Canberra is uncertain whether Kyiv is even interested in the vehicles, as their weak roof makes them vulnerable to drones.